The wheels of justice sometimes turn in unexpected ways. Donald Trump's on trial in New York for covering up hush money payments to a woman he allegedly slept with.
Eric Trump arrived with his dad, Donald Trump, today.
So we see the Trump circus. And of course, for millions of Americans, what happens to him, his drama, is far more important than what he did or didn't achieve in office, or what he might do if he was elected again.
Donald Trump's supporters have turned the trial into a chance to demonstrate their loyalty to the Don. With Trump having won a series of primaries, the Republican Party is rallying around him. A momentum is building, and his critics shudder at the dangers of this moment.
I do think that in terms of consolidating Republican support, there's no question. Even people who said that he's a dangerous dictator are now saying they'll support him no matter what. So you have people rallying around this candidate, people being blindly partisan. He's a Republican, so we're going to support him. The court cases, I think, are not having any noticeable effect on his support. I think most of his voters have already discounted the court even before they've made a decision. And so I just think the Trump support is so firm that I have a hard time seeing many events that could possibly undo it.
Cheered on by his base, even the accounting for alleged crimes can be turned to advantage by Team Trump. Finishing the wall might seem an unlikely campaign slogan, but it speaks to American concerns about their long border with Mexico and the millions of undocumented migrants who've crossed it in recent years. In Arizona, a key swing state in the coming election, the mayor of one border town explained why this lands badly for Biden and well for Trump.
I believe they have. All along the southern border, I believe they flunked the test. We've had the same laws on the books for over 30 years, and every president, whether it's Democrat or Republican, has figured out a way to work within those laws and control the border. This president has decided that this is the way he wants to work with those laws, which is not control of the border.
You mentioned that during President Trump's period of office, there was a more effective regime here. So looking ahead to the next few months, does the memory of that and a sense that, in a more general sense, President Trump might be the right man, give him a lot of support in this city?
I believe it does. I mean, we want to look at those very important issues, and it seems to me the border keeps coming up as one of those top issues. And he was been very effective, and when he came here, he was here 3 times. He was well received every time. His attention to the details of what's happening at the border were very effective.
Of course, many of the Trump 2016 campaign promises about the border proved to be empty ones, not least his idea of making Mexico pay for the barrier, or that he would complete it.
Building that wall, this wall or barrier, in fact, was such a distinctive Trump campaign mantra in 2016 that you'd think that his failure to do so, the barrier only covers parts of this border with Mexico, might be counted against him. But in fact, many people in these border states believe they want him back in office precisely to finish that job.
Add to any quibbles about policy the Trump camp's attempts to pressure those overseeing elections. Arizona's Maricopa County has become such an important battleground that it was subject to unsubstantiated claims about rigging in 2020 and the midterms 2 years ago. The man supervising the next election here is bracing himself for more.
I am a Republican. I'm a proud Republican. I have long been a member of the Republican Party. I still believe in what I view as the central tenets of the Republican Party: free markets, rule of law, a strong America, strong national border. But obviously much of that has been supplanted by fealty to one individual, and central to that is fealty to some of these false allegations about the 2020 election.
We've gone north to another key electoral battleground. Bucks County in Pennsylvania is what they call a bellwether, having voted Trump in 2016 and Biden in 2020. On a sunny Sunday, the streets of Doylestown throng with shoppers. Eddie Burke runs Coaches. His cheese-steak sandwiches draw in the custom, but he's struggling to keep his profits in these times of rising prices.
It's a struggle. It's difficult, yes. Just to maintain with everything, yeah. With your with bills and utility bill, everything went up. Everything's way up. Like my gas, electric bill, just everything.
Eddie feels the Biden administration is partly to blame, and its attacks on opponents just deflection.
I don't like the fact that instead of taking responsibility and say, okay, maybe we came out of COVID, and that's what they say, and we were handed this, and they all do that, but take more responsibility, but they're going to blame Trump, and then they tie into the MAGA. And the MAGA people, they demonize them so bad, but what the MAGA people are, and I know a lot of them, and I'm a union guy. I used to be in the union. I did road work 18 years. They are your so-called what they call MAGA, or is your construction workers, your electricians, your carpenters. There's MAGA. So I don't like when they label it that way, and they dehumanize people like that.
Across the road, a very different tune. Siren Records is the local mecca for those searching for rare vinyl. Ask them about politics in here, and manager Heidi Kay will tell you that America failed to deal properly with the January the 6th riot, and that Trump can't be allowed a comeback.
We don't need more division. We just need to get on with the business of the country. And I'm done personally with the novelty of Trump, and that's putting it lightly. One concern is that Trump is going to win, and this country will be under a virtual dictatorship for at least the next 4 years. The other concern is Biden will win, and there will be another revolt, some sort of January 6th Part 2.
Of course, Donald Trump has always been a politically divisive figure, and with the trial underway at the moment, that's just become accentuated. And in a town like Doylestown, you really feel that.
As if to emphasise the rifts, Doylestown Cinema is showing the new film, Civil War, an action movie charting a dystopian American near future. And actual civil war? The price of a previous era's political failure and of subsequent wars is remembered on the battlefield of Gettysburg. There, the ground fought over in 1863 is studded with monuments to those who died in that enormously costly conflict.
So how should we assess the talk of a new civil war or fundamental changes to America's political system? Well, it's clearly early on in this campaign, but one thing is clear, that both sides will mobilize their supporters, their base, in order to try and win it by dramatizing the stakes in that way.
In this spot, Abraham Lincoln gave the Gettysburg Address, insisting that the sacrifice of the Civil War be remembered and America's freedoms preserved. Those most critical of Trump argue that his popular appeal makes his candidacy a vehicle for those who would undermine the country's modern democracy.
I wouldn't call him a dupe, but I would call him a vehicle, and that's the way they talk about him. They know that he's selfish. Even his strongest supporters know that he's a narcissist, etc. But they do think that he is leading something in America that's meaningful, and they're right. I mean, he is leading a powerful anti-liberal force, a force that's fundamentally opposed to the founders' system, and he has taken leadership of that group, and those people do have very extensive plans for how they want to implement that.
It's not unusual for those covering American elections to cast them as a historical turning point, but it's no exaggeration in this case. Donald Trump currently dominates the electoral high ground, leading most polls. Win or lose, his candidacy is redefining US politics.